Our greatest asset isn't external. What if the ultimate secret to achieving your definite purpose, to attracting an indispensable mastermind, and to igniting an unshakable faith lay not in endless external striving, nor in the frantic pursuit of validation from the world, but in a profound, deliberate decision to cultivate the single most vital resource you possess? For decades, I have delved into the minds of the most successful individuals, dissecting their methods, charting their rise. What I consistently found beneath the surface of their achievements was not merely a set of external actions, but an internal architecture of unparalleled strength. I have revealed the laws of success, principles forged through profound inquiry, tested in the crucible of real-world application. Yet beneath every law, every truth, rests a foundational understanding often missed, sometimes willfully ignored. You cannot build an enduring empire upon a crumbling foundation. To attempt such a feat is to guarantee its eventual collapse, a structure built on sand, vulnerable to the slightest shifting winds of adversity. And that foundation, unequivocally, is you. Consider this deeply. Before one can command others, one must first command oneself. Before one can inspire faith in a grand vision, one must possess an unwavering faith in the instrument of that vision, one's own capabilities, one's own worth. Is it not logical, then, that the cultivation of this inner strength, this self-reverence, must precede any significant external manifestation of success? This is not about mere self-care, a fleeting indulgence, or frivolous vanity. This is strategic self-investment, a principle so potent, so fundamentally transformative, it will redefine your entire journey to triumph. It compels you to ask, what value do I place upon the primary engine of my ambition, my own mind, my own spirit? Is it not paramount to ensure this engine runs optimally, fueled by confidence, protected by unwavering self-respect? To neglect this inner sanctum is to introduce a fundamental flaw into the very blueprint of your future achievements. Grasp now why loving yourself more than anyone else is not selfish. It is, in fact, the most selfless act you can perform for the world that awaits your contribution. How can you genuinely serve others? How can you truly lead if your own wellspring of energy, purpose, and resolve is depleted? How can you transmit enthusiasm, that crucial element of personal initiative, if you yourself feel unworthy or undeserving of the very success you pursue? Such a condition breeds hesitation, self-doubt, and ultimately failure to act decisively when opportunity knocks. The great achievers, those who mastered the laws of success, inherently understood this. They knew their personal power, their capacity to endure and to create, stemmed from an unshakable belief in themselves, a conviction that they were worthy of their grand ambitions. This conviction was not born of ego, but of a profound, calculated investment in their own spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. It was a strategic decision to honor their own potential above all else. This profound self-reverence is the ultimate act of leadership, for you must first lead yourself before you can hope to lead others effectively. It is the truest form of personal initiative, for it empowers you to act boldly, to persist relentlessly, and to overcome obstacles that would otherwise deter a less grounded spirit. It is the bedrock from which all monumental achievements genuinely spring. When your inner foundation is solid, when your self-worth is unassailable, you become a magnet for the very opportunities and resources you desire. You radiate an aura of competence and conviction that attracts the right mastermind alliances, that inspires others to believe in your vision as strongly as you do. Without this internal strength, your definite purpose remains a vague wish, your faith a fragile hope, and your plans mere castles in the air. We are not speaking of mere emotion here, but of a powerful practical philosophy of living. This is about consciously building an internal fortress against doubt, fear, and criticism. It is about understanding that your capacity for greatness is inextricably linked to your capacity for self-valuation. Prepare now to uncover the methods for cultivating this invaluable inner capital, the hidden cost of self-sacrifice. Why we sabotage our own success. We stand at a crossroads of understanding, do we not? Having grasped that your inner self is the true bedrock of all future triumphs, we must now confront a pervasive, almost insidious adversary. The hidden cost of what society often glorifies as noble self-sacrifice. From our earliest lessons, we are conditioned to believe that putting others first, consistently placing our own needs at the very end of a seemingly endless queue, is the pinnacle of virtue. We applaud the martyr, viewing their exhaustion as evidence of moral superiority. We are taught that to prioritize oneself is selfish, a betrayal of communal responsibility. But I ask you, in the grand scheme of achieving a definite purpose, in the relentless pursuit of a vision, does such a philosophy truly serve you or those you aim to uplift? Is it genuinely virtuous to render yourself ineffective, to diminish your capacity to contribute meaningfully because you have failed to nurture your own core? Consider the precise mechanism of this supposed virtue. When you continually deplete your own resources, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, without adequate, consistent replenishment, what remains? What quality of contribution can truly emanate from emptiness? Picture a powerful automobile, built for speed and endurance, capable of carrying you vast distances. Now, imagine its fuel gauge perpetually near empty, its oil warning light stubbornly illuminated, its tires worn thin, its engine sputtering from neglect. Would you expect that vehicle to perform optimally? Would you trust it to carry you safely through challenging miles? Of course not. Its capacity for movement, its very purpose, is severely compromised. In the human spirit, this continuous state of depletion dulls your sharpest edge, saps your vital energy, and ultimately, subtly yet powerfully, sabotages the very ambition you hold so dear. It breeds a quiet resignation, an insidious creeping doubt that undermines every step forward. The principles I have laid bare, burning desire, personal initiative, unwavering faith, these are not abstract concepts. They are living, breathing forces requiring constant nourishment, vigilant protection, and careful cultivation within your own being. How, I implore you, can you possibly maintain a burning desire when your inner flame flickers dim, suffocated by the constant demands and unspoken expectations of others, which you permit without establishing vital boundaries? Where is the deep, insatiable hunger for achievement if your soul feels constantly drained, stretched thin across too many obligations not intrinsically aligned with your definite purpose? A burning desire is not merely a fleeting thought. It is an energetic state, a vibrant, living force. When you neglect yourself, you are, in essence, systematically dousing that fire, allowing it to smolder into embers rather than blazing into an inferno of action. And what of personal initiative? This powerful drive to act, to take the first step even when the path is uncertain, to persist relentlessly in the face of adversity, demands a profound wellspring of inner conviction and abundant energy. How can you exert genuine personal initiative when your inner wellspring is dry, when every decision feels like an overwhelming burden, when the thought of pushing forward is met with profound weariness, bordering on psychological paralysis? Initiative requires courage, and courage is rarely born from chronic exhaustion and deep internal neglect. Instead, you find yourself procrastinating, hesitating, allowing fear, inertia, and a crippling sense of inadequacy to dictate your actions, simply because you lack the internal reserves, the self-generated power to fight against them. This is not a fundamental lack of will. It is a clear symptom of a deeper, systemic issue of self-neglect, tragically disguised as a noble virtue, leading to the erosion of your most potent force. Then there is the most profound connection of all, your access to infinite intelligence. This vast reservoir of universal knowledge and insight, accessible through a mind prepared, receptive, and in harmony with its own potential, becomes irrevocably obstructed. How can you hope to access infinite intelligence if your inner channel is clogged with persistent self-doubt, with simmering resentment towards your own state of depletion, and with the quiet, corrosive anger born from continually betraying your fundamental needs and aspirations? A mind filled with static, with internal conflict, with the unresolved emotional debt of chronic self-sacrifice, cannot possibly become a clear conduit for divine inspiration, for novel ideas, for the subtle whispers of guidance that appear when you are most aligned with your definite purpose. The clarity required for profound thought, for genuine intuitive insight, for the recognition of opportunity, demands an inner peace and self-respect entirely antithetical to constant self-sacrifice. This internal discord creates a dense fog that prevents the very illumination you seek. This constant depletion, this insidious emotional bankruptcy, is far from noble. It is, I assure you, a silent killer of ambition. It works subtly, gradually eroding your resolve, dimming your vision, and whispering doubts into your subconscious until they become deafening. It is a saboteur of purpose, transforming your once vibrant goals into distant, almost mocking, unattainable dreams, simply because you lack the sustained mental and emotional fortitude to pursue them. This condition is the #1 reason why brilliant minds, individuals endowed with immense talent and potential, stall and ultimately fail to reach their full, magnificent potential. They possess the intellect, the groundbreaking ideas, even the initial burst of drive, but they lack the fundamental understanding that their greatest resource, their own self, requires diligent cultivation, unwavering protection, and conscious, strategic investment. They continue to pour from an empty cup, believing this self-immolation to be a virtuous mark of their dedication, when in truth, it is a guaranteed path to burnout, disillusionment, and the tragic abandonment of their most cherished dreams and their ultimate mission. Such a path not only harms the individual, but it robs the world of the profound contributions that could have been made, had that individual truly understood the strategic imperative of self-valuation, had they dared to love themselves enough to fully actualize their unique genius. We have explored the detrimental landscape created by the insidious myth of self-sacrifice, witnessing how it drains your essential resources and cripples your capacity for achievement. Now we must undertake a crucial intellectual reframe, a shift in perspective absolutely essential for cultivating genuine, lasting success. It is time to view self-love not as a fragile emotion, a momentary indulgence, or a self-absorbed act, but as a robust, non-negotiable form of inner capital. What is this inner capital? It is the sum total of your mental fortitude, your emotional resilience, your spiritual well-being, and your physical vitality, all consciously invested in and rigorously protected, just as a shrewd financier guards and grows their financial assets. The truly successful individual must learn to steward this internal wealth with even greater diligence, understanding that its abundance dictates the richness of all external manifestations. To treat your inner self as a strategic asset, one that requires deliberate cultivation, vigilant defense, and continuous reinvestment, is to unlock a profound new dimension of power, a leverage point far more potent than any external resource. Consider for a moment the meticulous planning that goes into defining your definite purpose. Have you truly articulated it with crystal clarity? Have you etched it into the very fabric of your being with unwavering resolve? The pursuit of this purpose is paramount, the driving force of all achievement. Yet how can you precisely define such a grand purpose, one that genuinely aligns with your highest potential, if you do not first understand and profoundly value the unique genius residing within you? A diminished sense of self-worth clouds judgment, distorts perspective, and often tragically leads individuals to adopt purposes far beneath their true capabilities, simply because they do not believe themselves worthy or capable of something truly grand. Self-love in this context becomes the unwavering conviction in your own intrinsic value, the recognition of your distinct talents, your inherent strengths, and your unique capacities that are specifically designed to fulfill that particular, unparalleled purpose. It is the internal mirror reflecting your true potential, unblemished by the corrosive whispers of external criticism or debilitating self-doubt. Without this clear, undistorted reflection, your definite purpose remains a hazy aspiration, never fully taking concrete form, always susceptible to being overshadowed by the perceived needs or expectations of others. Furthermore, how does one genuinely fuel faith? Not merely a passive belief in an outcome, but that absolute, unshakable faith in your own capacity to execute your ideas, to innovate past obstacles, to persist relentlessly through every setback until ultimate success is achieved. This is the kind of dynamic, active faith Hill described, a potent force that propels you forward even when all logical evidence suggests otherwise. Such faith is not sustained by fleeting external validation, nor is it born from the temporary encouragement of others. It is inherently born and nurtured internally, a deep-seated trust in oneself. Self-love is precisely this unwavering belief in your own inherent capacity, even when the world around you actively whispers doubt, even when temporary defeats threaten to overwhelm your spirit and extinguish your resolve. It is the quiet, persistent voice within affirming your ability to rise, to adapt, to learn, and ultimately to conquer. When you consistently demonstrate this profound self-love through deliberate actions that honor your well-being, protect your energy, and acknowledge your potential, you systematically build an ironclad internal reservoir of faith that becomes impervious to external negativity, criticism, or the inevitable challenges of your journey. This faith, deeply rooted in a robust sense of self-worth, becomes your most formidable shield against temporary defeat. Now, reflect deeply on the transformative power of auto-suggestion mastery. We understand that the subconscious mind is a powerful servant, diligently executing the instructions it receives. How, then, can your subconscious mind be effectively dominated by positive, powerful auto-suggestions, those affirmations of your definite goals, your intrinsic strengths, your unwavering resolve, if your conscious mind is perpetually feeding it messages of inadequacy, unworthiness, and corrosive self-reproach? The two forces are diametrically opposed, locked in a battle for supremacy over your inner landscape. Self-love is the ultimate positive affirmation enacted. It is the constant, conscious decision to value your own being, to acknowledge your strengths without reservation, to embrace your unique qualities, and to forgive your imperfections with compassionate understanding. This conscious acceptance creates a fertile, receptive ground for auto-suggestion to flourish, transforming vague whispers of desire into resounding shouts of command, compelling your subconscious to work tirelessly and harmoniously towards the manifestation of your objectives. To neglect self-love is to unwittingly program your subconscious with limiting beliefs, thereby fundamentally undermining every positive declaration you attempt to make, creating a crippling dissonance between your conscious desires and your subconscious expectations, and ensuring a perpetual state of internal resistance. Consider, then, the simple, undeniable logic of managing financial capital. No prudent investor would consistently withdraw from their savings and investments without making regular, substantial deposits and strategic reinvestments. No wise business owner would neglect to reinvest profits back into the growth and maintenance of their company, understanding that sustained expansion requires constant nourishment and careful stewardship. To do otherwise would be to invite insolvency, decline, and eventual catastrophic failure. Why, then, do so many intelligent individuals treat their inner capital with such reckless abandon? Why do they continually drain their emotional reserves, neglect their mental well-being, disregard their physical health, and starve their spirit, all while expecting profound, consistent external returns and unparalleled personal achievement? This is a fundamental misunderstanding of the immutable laws of cause and effect. Just as depleted financial accounts inevitably lead to material scarcity and economic hardship, a depleted inner self inevitably leads to a scarcity of enthusiasm, a scarcity of persistence, a scarcity of clarity, a scarcity of creative thought, and ultimately, a scarcity of overall achievement and personal fulfillment. Therefore, the Hillian reframe demands that you acknowledge this profound, undeniable truth. Your inner world, your true self, is your greatest and most irreplaceable asset. It is not a luxury and optional addition to your busy life. It is the single most critical investment you will ever make, one that yields compound interest across every facet of your existence. Every conscious decision you make to honor your own needs, to cultivate your mental peace, to protect your emotional boundaries, to nourish your body with care, and to uplift your spirit with purpose is a direct, substantial deposit into this invaluable account. These deposits build your resilience, sharpen your intellect, fortify your resolve against adversity, and expand your inherent capacity to attract and sustain monumental success. They transform you from a reactive participant in life, constantly at the mercy of external circumstances, to a proactive, deliberate architect of your own destiny, wielding immense personal power. This is the strategic imperative, the foundational truth that underpins all 17 principles of success. Without a robust and thriving inner capital, your journey through life will always be arduous, perpetually prone to collapse and disappointment. With it, you possess an unyielding magnetic force that can fundamentally reshape your reality, allowing you to not just chase your dreams, but to command their manifestation. Having firmly established that your inner self is not merely a component of your success, but its very cornerstone, an invaluable inner capital demanding meticulous cultivation, we now turn our attention to the practical framework for its strategic development. This is not abstract philosophy. These are the pillars of strategic self-investment, concrete principles that, when embraced, transform your understanding of self-love from a nebulous concept into a dynamic, actionable force. These pillars are designed to integrate seamlessly with the very laws of achievement I have long championed, reinforcing your journey towards your definite purpose with an unshakable inner strength. The first of these pillars, an often overlooked dimension of success, is the inner mastermind alliance, curating your internal counsel. You are familiar with the mastermind principle, the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people who work in a spirit of perfect harmony for the attainment of a definite purpose. But consider for a moment the mastermind that exists within your own consciousness. Your internal dialogue, that incessant stream of thoughts, opinions, and judgments, is your most immediate and most constant mastermind alliance. The crucial question then becomes, are these inner voices working with you in a spirit of harmony towards your definite purpose, or are they working against you, sowing seeds of doubt, fear, and inadequacy? Strategic self-love is the conscious, deliberate act of cultivating a positive, encouraging, and constructive internal counsel, ensuring your internal mastermind operates with the same synchronized purpose you would demand from an external alliance. It demands that you become the vigilant chairman of this internal meeting, discerning between the voice of genuine, constructive self-correction and the debilitating whispers of the saboteur. This requires a profound level of self-awareness and self-respect, understanding that you have the authority to dismiss unhelpful thoughts and to amplify those that serve your highest good. Through consistent, intentional auto-suggestion, not merely for external goals but for reinforcing your inherent self-worth and capabilities, you systematically reshape this internal landscape. You learn to observe negative self-talk without attachment, acknowledging its presence but refusing its dominion, actively redirecting your mental energy towards affirming narratives that bolster your faith and ignite your personal initiative. This deliberate curation of your internal dialogue transforms your mind from a chaotic battleground into a powerful, harmonious engine of thought, a true internal mastermind working tirelessly on your behalf, providing counsel that is always in alignment with your deepest aspirations. Following this, we erect the second pillar, the persistence firewall, protecting your creative energy. Persistence, as I have taught, is an absolute non-negotiable requirement for transforming desire into its material equivalent. It is the steady, unwavering application of effort, even in the face of temporary defeat. However, persistence is not an endless resource. It demands an enormous amount of mental, emotional, and spiritual energy. Your capacity for prolonged, focused effort, for overcoming resistance, and for seeing your plans through to completion is directly proportional to the energy you possess and, more critically, the energy you protect. Strategic self-love, therefore, manifests as the deliberate construction of an impenetrable firewall against the myriad external negativities and internal doubts that constantly seek to drain this vital creative energy. It involves the courageous act of strategically saying no to energy-sapping demands, to requests that do not align with your definite purpose, and to relationships or environments that are toxic to your spirit. This is not about avoidance. It is about strategic preservation. It means establishing clear, unwavering boundaries with others, and perhaps even more importantly, with your own tendencies towards overcommitment or self-inflicted perfectionism. To protect your energy is to protect your capacity for persistence itself. Every instance where you consciously shield your inner world from unnecessary stress, from external criticism that lacks constructive intent, or from the insidious whispers of self-doubt, you are reinforcing this firewall. You recognize that a depleted individual cannot truly persist. Instead, they falter, they procrastinate, and they ultimately yield to the path of least resistance. By valuing your energy, by recognizing it as a finite, precious resource, you ensure that you always have the fuel required for the unwavering, persistent action that is the hallmark of every truly successful individual, transforming potential exhaustion into an enduring, vibrant wellspring of drive. The third pillar guides us toward an even deeper level of internal wisdom, the sixth sense of self-worth, intuition as your inner GPS. My concept of the sixth sense, as you know, represents the pinnacle of all principles, the faculty through which direct communication with infinite intelligence is achieved. It manifests as flashes of insight, gut feelings, and an uncanny ability to know without knowing how you know. Yet this profound faculty, this inner GPS, is profoundly affected by your sense of self-worth. How can you genuinely trust the subtle, often silent guidance of your intuition if you do not first trust yourself? Self-doubt, nurtured by a lack of self-love, creates a constant static in your internal communication system, clouding your judgment and rendering the precise signals of your intuition unintelligible, or worse, causing you to dismiss them outright. Strategic self-love sharpens this sixth sense by fostering an environment of self-trust and clarity. It allows you to intuitively discern what truly serves your highest good versus what merely caters to external pressures or momentary whims. It requires you to consciously practice mindful listening to your body's wisdom, to your emotional responses, and to the subtle cues that emerge from deep within your subconscious. By valuing yourself, you learn to trust your instincts about opportunities, about relationships, about decisions, often before any external validation or logical proof presents itself. You come to recognize that self-neglect dulls this vital internal guidance system, making you susceptible to poor choices and external manipulation. Cultivating periods of quiet introspection, allowing for genuine self-reflection without judgment, is crucial here. It allows the subtle voice of your inner wisdom to rise above the din of external noise and internal chatter, becoming your most reliable guide on the path to your definite purpose. This pillar transforms intuition from an unreliable whisper into a clear, commanding voice of truth, always steering you toward your optimal path. Finally, we arrive at the fourth and perhaps most expansive pillar: emotional intelligence as infinite intelligence connection, self-mastery. True emotional mastery, as understood through the lens of strategic self-investment, is not about the suppression of emotions, nor is it about blindly reacting to every surge of feeling. Rather, it is the intelligent management, understanding, and utilization of your emotional landscape. When you deeply understand and truly value your own emotional responses, an act of profound self-love, you create a clear, unobstructed channel for the flow of infinite intelligence. Consider the profound implications. Fear, anxiety, anger, resentment, these are not merely uncomfortable states. They are powerful, energetic blockages that can effectively sever your connection to the vast reservoir of universal knowledge and creative solutions that Hill referred to as infinite intelligence. How can inspiration strike? How can a breakthrough idea manifest if your mind is perpetually turbulent, tossed about by unmanaged emotional storms? Self-love enables a non-judgmental observation and processing of your emotions. It teaches you to sit with discomfort, to understand its root causes, and to consciously choose your response rather than being enslaved by a knee-jerk reaction. This self-compassionate approach to your inner emotional world allows you to see setbacks not as personal failures, but as valuable data points for growth. It fosters practices for emotional regulation, not repression, enabling you to journal your feelings, to understand your triggers, and to develop strategies for returning to a state of calm, centered presence. This inner serenity, born from emotional self-mastery, is the prerequisite for receiving those profound insights, those creative solutions that appear when your mind is quiet, receptive, and in harmony. By consciously valuing and intelligently managing your emotions, you transmute potential internal chaos into a fertile ground for inspiration, transforming your emotional intelligence into a direct, powerful conduit to the boundless wisdom of infinite intelligence. Having meticulously constructed the pillars of strategic self-investment, understanding how they fortify your inner landscape and sharpen your faculties for achievement, we must now confront a lingering doubt, a deeply ingrained societal misconception that often shackles individuals to a path of self-neglect. Some might still argue with a certain moral conviction that this profound dedication to one's inner capital, this deliberate act of loving yourself more than anyone else, borders on the selfish. Is it not, they might contend, a retreat from communal duty, an indulgence that detracts from the greater good? But I ask you, with the unwavering logic that underpins all true success, how effectively can you truly serve your community? How robustly can you lead your team? Or how genuinely can you inspire your family if you yourself are perpetually depleted, consistently resentful, and constantly, desperately seeking external validation to fill an internal void? Consider this with unvarnished clarity. A flickering candle, starved of wax and wick, struggles to illuminate even its immediate surroundings. A well-nourished, robust flame, however, casts a brilliant, far-reaching light, warming and guiding all within its sphere. The very notion that you must diminish yourself to uplift others is a profound fallacy, a bankrupt philosophy that yields only widespread exhaustion and underperformance. It is a path that, while appearing virtuous on the surface, ultimately starves the world of your fullest, most potent contribution. The truly great leaders, the impactful visionaries, the individuals who left an indelible mark on humanity, were rarely those who perpetually martyred themselves into oblivion. They were, almost without exception, individuals of immense inner strength, fortified by a profound belief in their own capabilities and a resolute commitment to maintaining their personal power. They understood that to give authentically, to lead compellingly, and to innovate boldly, one must first possess an abundant reserve from which to draw. This brings us to the overflow principle. Imagine a cup. If that cup is empty or merely half full, how much can it truly offer to quench the thirst of another? Very little, if anything. And in attempting to pour from an empty vessel, you simply perpetuate the cycle of scarcity. A cup overflowing with self-worth, imbued with clarity of purpose, and invigorated by an abundance of personal energy and resilience, is the only cup that can genuinely, authentically, and sustainably nourish others. Your strategic self-investment is not a self-serving end in itself. It is the vital process by which you ensure your cup is not merely full, but perpetually overflowing. It ensures you have not only enough for your own definite purpose, but an excess, a surplus of wisdom, energy, and inspiration to share generously with the world around you. This overflow, born from your deliberate cultivation of inner capital, transforms you from someone who needs from the world into someone who gives abundantly to it, not from obligation or depletion, but from a place of profound inner wealth. Reflect on your mastermind alliances. These powerful collaborations, essential for leveraging diverse strengths and overcoming complex challenges, thrive on the contributions of individuals who are themselves strong, clear-minded, and self-possessed. A person who is constantly battling internal demons, who lacks fundamental self-respect, who is easily swayed by external opinion because their own sense of worth is fragile, cannot possibly be a truly valuable, independent, or decisive member of such an alliance. Their contributions become compromised by their own insecurities, their focus fragmented by their internal conflicts. Conversely, an individual whose inner capital is robust, whose self-love forms an unshakable foundation, brings an entirely different caliber of contribution. They bring clarity of thought unclouded by self-doubt, decisive action unhampered by hesitation, and unwavering persistence born from an authentic belief in their own value and purpose. They become a magnetic force, attracting equally strong and purposeful individuals, thereby amplifying the collective power of the mastermind exponentially. Your investment in yourself elevates the entire collective, making your presence not just desired, but indispensable. Furthermore, consider the profound impact on your ability to exert leadership and influence. True leadership is never merely about authority. It is fundamentally about inspiring others to voluntarily follow, to embrace a vision, and to contribute their utmost. How does one inspire? Not through weakness, not through chronic complaint, and certainly not through a desperate craving for approval. One inspires through an unshakable personal magnetism, a quiet confidence, and a clear, unwavering conviction in the path forward. These qualities are direct emanations of a robust inner capital, nurtured by strategic self-love. When you genuinely value yourself, you carry an aura of self-respect that naturally commands the respect of others. Your voice gains authority, your presence gains gravitas, and your words carry weight because they are rooted in an authentic internal certainty rather than external bravado. You become a beacon of resolute purpose, a testament to what is possible when an individual is fully aligned with their own power. This allows you to guide, to motivate, and to lead with a potency that is simply unattainable for those who have allowed their inner self to languish. Your capacity to move mountains for others is directly proportional to your capacity to first stabilize and strengthen the ground beneath your own feet. Then, there is the undeniable truth that a strong sense of self-worth profoundly enhances your persistence and problem-solving capabilities, not just for personal gain, but for the greater good of any endeavor. The journey toward a definite purpose is replete with temporary defeats, unforeseen obstacles, and moments that test the very limits of your resolve. A self-actualized individual, one who has strategically invested in their emotional resilience and mental fortitude, views these challenges not as insurmountable barriers, but as solvable puzzles, as data points for learning and adaptation. Their self-love acts as an internal anchor, preventing them from being swept away by the currents of discouragement or the tides of cynicism. This unwavering internal stability allows for sustained creative thinking, for innovative problem-solving, and for the kind of relentless, systematic persistence that is required to break through even the most formidable resistance. When your inner state is one of calm, confident self-assurance, your mind remains agile, open to new solutions, and empowered to find pathways where others see only dead ends. This enhanced capacity for resilience and creativity is not merely for your own benefit. It is a powerful force that you bring to every project, every challenge, every shared goal, ultimately benefiting all who depend on your continued effort and ingenuity. Ultimately, your greatest contribution to society and the fulfillment of your definite purpose will stem directly from your fullest potential. And that fullest potential, I assure you, is inextricably rooted in your strategic self-love. To deliberately neglect your inner self, to allow your inner capital to diminish, is to actively choose to operate at a fraction of your true capability. It is to deny the world the profound and unique contributions that only you, operating from a place of strength and wholeness, can truly deliver. The world does not need more depleted martyrs. It needs more empowered individuals who are so full of their own light that they cannot help but illuminate the path for others. Your investment in yourself is, therefore, an investment in humanity. It is the most strategic, far-reaching act of generosity you can perform, for it ensures that your gifts, your talents, and your genius are fully actualized and freely available for the collective good. This is not a passive sentiment. It is an active, conscious choice that yields tangible, immeasurable returns, both for yourself and for every soul you touch on your journey towards your grandest aspirations. Finally, we arrive at the culmination of our journey, a moment for profound reflection and decisive action. We have dissected the insidious myth of self-sacrifice, understood the transformative power of inner capital, and unveiled the strategic pillars that fortify your being. The path is now illuminated, the principles laid bare. This is not merely information, it is a blueprint for mastery, a call to awaken the dormant titan within. Let us unequivocally state once and for all that self-love, in its truest, most potent form, is far more than a luxury, a fleeting indulgence, or a superficial emotion. It is an absolute, strategic necessity for manifesting your definite purpose, for orchestrating your mastermind alliances, for sustaining your persistence, and for aligning with infinite intelligence. To dismiss it is to willingly hamstring your own potential, to deliberately introduce weakness where strength is paramount. Now consider this profound truth. The greatest project you will ever undertake is not an external venture, not a grand enterprise that exists outside the confines of your own being. The greatest, most challenging, yet ultimately most rewarding project you will ever commit to is you. It demands your unwavering attention, your most astute planning, and your most disciplined execution. And consequently, the most vital, the most consequential, and the most profitable investment you will ever make is in you. Every moment you dedicate to cultivating your inner capital, every boundary you establish to protect your creative energy, every decision you make to honor your innate worth is an investment that yields returns beyond mere financial gain. It yields a life of purpose, power, and profound fulfillment. The question is no longer if you should invest in yourself, but how strategically and how consistently you will commit to this ultimate project. The time for hesitation, for deferring your own well-being to others, has now irrevocably passed. The time for deliberate action, for forging an unshakable foundation within, is unequivocally now. Start today. The future of your definite purpose hinges upon this decision. To solidify this understanding, to translate this knowledge into tangible results, you must take immediate personal responsibility. Therefore, I challenge you to embark upon 2 critical action steps, beginning this very moment. First, identify 1 concrete inner capital practice you will implement this week. Will it be a dedicated period of quiet reflection each morning, consciously affirming your self-worth? Will it involve an hour devoted solely to a passion that rejuvenates your spirit without guilt or apology? Will it be the deliberate cessation of engaging with negative self-talk, replacing it with empowering auto-suggestions? Choose one. Commit to it with the same unwavering persistence you would apply to your most significant business venture and execute it without fail. The power of habit, once established in the service of your highest good, becomes an unstoppable force for positive transformation. Second, engage in a period of deep, honest reflection. Where, precisely, have you been inadvertently draining your self-worth? Where have you allowed external pressures, unrealistic expectations, or the insidious whispers of doubt to erode your inner capital? Perhaps it is a persistent obligation that no longer serves your definite purpose. Perhaps it is a relationship that continuously depletes your energy without offering replenishment. Perhaps it is an internal pattern of self-criticism that has become a constant companion. Pinpoint this specific area of depletion. And then, with the courage born of strategic self-love, determine what boundary you will establish to staunch this outflow. This might be a physical boundary, a temporal boundary, or a mental boundary. It might involve a difficult conversation, a courageous decision, or simply a shift in your internal commitment to self-preservation. Remember, a boundary is not an act of rejection. It is an act of definition, clarifying where you end and where another begins, ensuring your inner capital remains intact and vibrant. Remember always, with the unwavering conviction that truth demands, the master key to success, the very essence of achievement as I have unveiled it through decades of painstaking research and observation, begins not outside of you, but profoundly, irrevocably within you. It resides in your capacity to believe, to persist, to plan, and above all, to value the instrument through which all these forces operate, your own being. Love yourself fiercely, strategically, and unapologetically. Do not mistake this for arrogance. Understand it as a profound act of wisdom, an alignment with the universal law that states, you cannot give what you do not first possess. For in doing so, in cultivating this unwavering self-reverence, you do not just merely find success. You transcend the pursuit altogether. You become success itself, a living embodiment of purpose, power, and unshakable fulfillment. This is your ultimate legacy, waiting to be claimed.